This is the worst alley in town. On one side, we have trees that are growing through the fence, but on the other, it's got weeds that are at least 5 feet tall, and it's just full of trash and even giant logs. Now, this has become a real safety hazard for everyone, and we can't have that here. So let's go ahead and get it cleaned up. If you're wondering why I'm going to go ahead and toss all of this right here into the middle, it's because we're expecting a storm here in about 90 minutes to 2 hours. So I'm tossing it off to the side, and then that way I can just come pick it all up at once when we're done. God, it's humid. We're not going to chop this tree down. Not only is it actually really big and healthy, but where I live, I'm actually in Texas, and so this is a pecan tree. I don't know if y'all can hear the thunder, but it's getting pretty close. And so I don't want to risk being out here too much longer. So I'm going to try to hurry up and get this done. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this real cool trick where you can just like... What the heck? It didn't work. Wait, try again.
Now, I'm not completely done, but with this weather that's blowing in, I'm gonna have to go ahead and just call it a day. It's okay though, because I'm gonna come back in a few days because we have to clean this over here as well.
This alley is so bad, it's gonna take several trips to the dump, but I can't afford to pay over $100 out of pocket, so I called the city to see if they'd help me out by waiving the dump fees. The answer was no, but 10 days later, the city called me back. They said if I cut everything down small enough to fit in the dumpsters, they'd be willing to make an extra trip out and haul it off for free. Here's the catch. They told me everything has to be finished by 10:30 tomorrow morning. That gives me just 2 hours after work tonight before it gets dark, and 2.5 hours tomorrow morning once I've dropped my daughter off at school. On top of that, I'm allergic to all of this pollen, so I'll be in a mask the entire time. If there's anything left over after the deadline, I'm stuck with it. So, I know I'm using the chainsaw wrong, but in my defense, I haven't even had to charge the battery yet, so that's how new I am at this. If you have any tips on maintenance with the chain or anything like that, go ahead and leave it down in the comments. It'd really help me out. These logs were a nightmare. They're heavy, full of termites, and just way too big to fit in the dumpsters, so there's no chance I'm gonna take them for firewood, so we'll have to go ahead and chop them down here. This alley is the responsibility of the people who live in these homes, which is why the city doesn't handle a cleanup like this. But because it's been used as a dumping ground for so long, most of the residents haven't touched it in years. While the 10:30 deadline makes it tight for me, the reason for it is because that's when the driver would actually be close enough on his regular route to be able to swing by and make an extra trip. By the time the sun starts to go down, I'm just done. After a full work day outside plus a couple hours out here, I'm gonna have to call it, so I'll be back tomorrow morning to finish the alley.
I came over here, I need to go and get some fuel. I got a question for you though. This cooling shirt that I bought, it's actually really awesome. Like, it really does help, especially when you get it wet. But I'm having an issue keeping it to where, like, I pull it out of the washer and it still looks like it's stained. Do you know of anything I can put in there to help, like, get it to where it doesn't look so dirty?
We've been pulling weeds non-stop, but time's starting to run out, so with only an hour before the dump truck's supposed to be here, I'm gonna pull weeds for about another 30 minutes, but then we'll bring out the mower to knock down the rest. What the camera doesn't really show here is how much pressure I was under. I kept thinking, if I don't get this done, what am I gonna do with the rest of the debris? found even more branches that need to be cut small enough to fit in the dumpster. I just can't figure out why there's so many piles of logs in this alley. With only 30 minutes left, I have no choice. We're gonna have to bring out the power equipment. At this point, it's all or nothing if we want to finish on time.